Hello, good everyone. For me, it's morning, so good morning. Good morning, afternoon, evening, and anytime you watch it. My name is Kai Sasaki. Today, we gonna watch together. Blue Jay. It's Vampire Panic from Blue Jay. It's gonna be good. Trust me. Let's hop into it.
A woman attending a male-dominated STEM university, first of all, I'm sorry, and second of all, you're
Why is
probably
this
aware of how
happening?
difficult it is to have normal social interactions. Odds are you've gone to a bar to drown yourself in beer along with your debt when you bump into a cute guy. Now, running into a random dude and his friend while buzzed and alone, there's only one thought going through any woman's mind. Dear God, I hope he's not an engineer. He then introduces himself as Reynold, a third-year student studying industrial engineering. Oh, thank God, you think to yourself. At least he's not an engineer.
And
The
he's
two
not
of you start to
engineer.
hit it off when he excuses himself to use the restroom, leaving you with his quiet friend. Feeling confident, you turn to him and ask, "Hey, what's Reynolds' number?" Lighting up in a way only a nerd blind to social cues would, he says, a Reynolds number is a dimensionless quantity denoting the ratio of inertial to viscous forces. It's used to describe flow patterns from laminar flow to turbulent flow. That's right, you
What?
just committed the cardinal sin of asking a question as a female in the presence of an engineer. For
Oh,
example,
no.
you know when you use a garden hose set to jet? That water's chaotic. That's a high Reynolds number, turbulent flow.
Okay.
Pouring honey from a bottle on some toast? That flow's nice and steady, low Reynolds number, laminar flow. Force feeding a child the liquefied organs of their sister's desecrated corpse? Kid's coughing that right up, high Reynolds number, turbulent flow. What the actual fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
Hi, Beth. That's where I come in. Let's talk about vampire panics throughout history.
Oh, good. It's gonna be fire. Before I think, I don't think I'm gonna pause too much. I might not gonna. I'm not good. I'm not too good in the European or American history, so I'm not gonna comment on too much. But I just hope I not pause too much. There might be cut, but that cut just because there's ads. So let's watch together, shall we? I'm sorry for pausing.
Believe it or not, Bram Stoker's Dracula isn't the first major vampire book out there. In fact, it was partially inspired by the novel Carmilla, released a whole 25 years before.
Carmilla.
Not only was it one of the most influential vampire books of all time, but it also showcased the first lesbian vampire in history, a creature of unearthly beauty with the ability to shapeshift and pass through walls to feed on her victims. But if you're looking to get sucked by a creature
What?
with even more unearthly beauty, you needn't look further than the new limited edition Vampire blueJay plushie. There I was, consuming a fan behind a Long John Silver's when I thought to myself, golly, there's gotta be a more efficient way to feast on my subscribers' blood. When along came none other than U2's itself. In exchange for its life, they partnered up with me to create the first ever Halloween-themed blueJay, a devilishly handsome demon complete with fangs and drip that fits just perfect on top of your bed so I can prey on you in the comfort of your home. It's spooky, it's squishy, it's probably HIV negative. Offering your flesh to the
Probably.
vampire blueJay is your one-way ticket to the popular lunch table. Come on, all the cool kids are doing it. But there's only so much blood my hive-minded disciples can drink before they've had their fill, so click the link in the description to buy yours today before they sell out forever. And remember, it's only a parasite if you don't like it. Vampires
God.
have a storied history of infecting the annals of folklore of various cultures throughout the world. In fact, the fear of these life-sucking parasites is still alive and well today. It's just that they've since rebranded from edgy cloaks to flashing lights. Instead of draining your blood, they prefer your 401k, and nowadays, they don't rise from the grave, they like to take you to it. But despite the
Yeah,
very
that's
real
vampire as
danger
well.
of the modern variety, it was the classic vampire that incited
Oh,
more
I
fear.
know him.
So much so that many
It's
cultures
Dracula.
established elaborate vampire hunting myths just to counter the blood-slurping devils. For example, in Eastern Europe, it was believed people born on Saturdays had special vampire hunting capabilities.
What that's supposed to mean?
Hey Steve, just popping by to let you know I cleaned up like 9 vampires in your backyard for you. Oh, really? I don't see anything. Yeah, you wouldn't. You have big Sunday vibes. They're only visible to us Saturday, boys, but don't worry. I'll keep an eye out for you. Sure. Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Yeah, so that'll be $2,000. And just like Americans with the metric system,
Shit.
certain signs freaked people out the most, resulting in periods of mass hysteria that would become known as vampire panics. Back in the 18th
Vampire
century,
panic.
God looked upon the misery of
18th
Eastern
century.
Europe and was like, wait, watch this. engulfing the region in a vampire hysteria. Kicking off this monster mash was Peter Blagojevich, which is an anagram for Big Vocal Rat Jeep. Peter was a Serbian peasant whose most notable contribution in life was dying. That's because in just 8 days following his death, 9 other villagers bit the dust after coming down with a mysterious illness. Now, pre-industrial peasants and dying of disease goes together like Sonic and autism, but what made this case unique was the fact that, allegedly, each dying villager claimed to have been assaulted by the recently deceased Peter. On top of that, Peter's widow swore he had returned from the dead to ask for his shoes, apparently terrifying her so much that she up and moved out of town. Thoroughly spooked, the villagers decided it was best to dig up their dead neighbor to investigate for signs of vampirism, demanding a local administrator and priest to be present for the desecration. Now, much like today, digging up a dead body to prod around willy-nilly is what many specialists would define as frowned upon, but despite the administrator's pleas that they seek official permission first, the villagers were kinda beyond the whole worry about proper bureaucratic channels stage of their vampire psychosis, and disinterred it anyway. To their horror, they found Peter's body surprisingly fresh. His hair and beard had grown, blood could be seen in his mouth, and new skin and nails had appeared on his hands. All of the telltale vampire characteristics, or as we say today, normal decomposition. But to be fair, we are talking about a time before we had Dr. Mike to teach your average Joe basic medical information, so they get a pass on this one from me. The populace then drove a stake through Peter's heart, after which it was reported that blood began to flow from his various orifices. For them, this just added more proof that he was a vampire, but for those of us who grew up with water rockets, you'd know this is the expected reaction after squeezing a fluid-filled sack. Albeit, this version probably leaves a kid riddled with psychological trauma instead of scientific wonder. Fluid-filled sack. Albeit, this version probably leaves a kid riddled with psychological trauma instead of scientific wonder. Peter wasn't an isolated case, however. He was just the first of many reports that begin to flood in of villages being attacked by vampires. Take Arnold Paule, a Serbian ex-soldier who often complained about being plagued by vampires. Oh god, I get bit like crazy. I know, right? I swear they just love my blood. I wish we could repel them somehow. Don't worry, I have the perfect cure for vampires. Oh cool, wait, what? What is wrong with you? It's the only way! Apparently, he was able to keep the vampires at bay by devouring the dirt of suspected vampire graves and smearing himself in their corpses' blood. Which, yeah, I think most people would see that and cross the street. While Arnold kept his neck safe from vampire fangs, the same couldn't be said for Cobblestone, as he died after breaking his neck falling off a hay wagon. Like Peter, Arnold's death too preceded a period of rapid deaths, with villagers again proclaiming Arnold had plagued them on their deathbed. So, as before, his village gathered for a little grave-digging community event, where after his heart was staked and blood then quaked, his head was braked and body baked. What made these cases notable was the fact that they couldn't just be chalked up to local superstition. These stories came out of the direct involvement of Austrian authorities, where doctors and officials witnessed, reported, and confirmed the—
Wait, I hear Australia. So I was wrong then. I thought it was gonna be either Europe or American. Wait, is it Australia or Austria? I'm dumb. Okay, let me
existence of vampires. The hysteria went international, stirring a rise in vampire belief amongst rural and uneducated peasants from Serbia to England. So widespread and long-lasting was this vampire panic that it got to the point where Maria Theresa, as in Holy Roman Empress Maria Theresa, had to get involved. Local magistrate Harper, what are you doing here? There's vampires, I'm scared. What are you on about? Can I sleep with you? No, you can't. There's no such thing as vampires. Go back to your village. I saw them. If I send Dr. Sweeten to check for vampires, will you go back to bed? Okay. To definitively answer the vampire question, Empress Teresa sent her personal physician to investigate the blood-sucking hullabaloo. The doctor looked at the bodies, said, yeah, that's people, and concluded that vampires did not exist. Teresa then swiftly passed laws banning the opening and desecration of graves, which is a little like having to ban eating dog poop. Not something you'd ever think you need to tell people, but a rule you'll really appreciate when the weird neighbor boy is left alone in the yard for too long. While she was successful in ending this vampire epidemic, like much much of Europe's
never were
mistakes.
easy to
It
do
was
that, bro.
America's turn to fuck up now. Boom.
See?
1800s. You're in England, but remastered. Living in a small farming town with your wife and 7 kids. No wife and 6 kids. Your family's dead. Your only son is still kicking, but is starting to show the same symptoms his siblings had before their turn for the worst. And you have no idea how to help him.
die.
This story is very similar to that of George Brown, a Rhode Island resident who lost his wife and 2 daughters to consumption, which sounds like the 8th deadly sin, but it's really just a very metal old name for tuberculosis. With the shocking number of deaths in his family, and with his son Edwin looking to join the scoreboard, George's neighbors were determined to find the root cause of his misery. I know, it's terrible. But have you considered that maybe it's your bitch daughter's fault? Insisting his family was cursed, George's neighbors demanded permission.
By the way, his joke is really dark and it's really mature. So if you guys was like, no, I cannot watch this or show this to my kid, that is correct and that is right. So better be conscious about it, okay?
To dig up his dead relatives to see who was feeding on the living. He reluctantly agreed, but didn't join them as they got to work cracking open his family's coffins like loot boxes, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Looking for signs of blood, the mother and oldest daughter, having been dead for nearly a decade, were bone dry. But Mercy Brown was buried in the winter and was quite fresh. So they ripped out Mercy's heart and liver, discovered clotted blood in the decomposing organs, and burned them on a random rock.
What?
Afterwards, they scooped up the ashes and put them in a vase, added water, and fed them to her sick brother in an attempt to cure his consumption. What's the matter, Edwin? You've barely touched your Mercy. Now, you might just think this is a rare case of batshittery, but this was all taking place during a period known as the New England Vampire Panic, a time where upwards of 25% of all of New England's deaths were due to consumption, causing many superstitious rural communities to lose their marbles and blame vampires. After all, when everyone you know and love starts up and dying for reasons you can't quite explain, you kind of just start trying anything that comes to mind, including digging up and desecrating bodies, apparently. It's important to note, however, that we don't have evidence that these villagers ever actually used the term vampires. That's just how it was reported in the papers. But hey, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and has its chest cavity ripped open and organs melted into a gore smoothie to put a stop to evil spirits feeding on the blood of relatives.
Oh,
like a duck.
Like a duck,
For all intents and purposes, this is a vampire. When a corpse was determined to be a vampire, solutions ranged from just flipping the body over in its grave to full-on decapitation, dismemberment, and literally making a skull and crossbones with the femurs. Of course, no vampire hunt was complete without a little organ barbecue, and like with the Browns, the ashes would be fed to the family, or they'd get together to do a little cremation hotbox, like a dystopic precursor to medical marijuana. Yo, what strain is that?
Really?
Martha. But believe it or not, this cure did not work for Edwin Brown. It really only ensured that the last fleeting moments of his life were as psychologically taxing as they were physical, as Edwin would die just 2 months after gulping down the Smoke Sister smoothie. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, well, it's silly, but people just didn't know better at the time. But that's the thing. The Mercy Brown incident happened in 1892. The tuberculosis bacteria was discovered in 1882, a whole 10 years before this horror show, and long after germ theory had been considered proven.
Wow.
In fact, a doctor was present for Mercy Brown's desecration and performed an autopsy on her. Yeah, that's tuberculosis. Roast her on a stick.
That's it. I'm sorry. I don't really remember or memorize a lot of the American history or that kind of history. Generally, I do remember my own or 1920 onward. Yes, I do remember. After the World War One, yeah, I do remember that.
Alright boys, get out the George Foreman. You heard completely different from what I said somehow. Feed her to Edwin now. With this story, you might be tempted to point and laugh at the people of the past for not understanding their modern medical information, because that's totally not a thing today. But if we can learn anything from these vampire panics, it's to not eat your sister. Sound advice that should serve you well in more ways than one. Vampire panics, 7 out of 10 stars. But my merch, 10 out of 10 stars. Buy it now. Do it now. Right now. You do it now. Go and do it. Throw money now.
No. Well, that's that's pretty fun, isn't it? Well, that's blueJay. That's really short, actually. I'm fun. I'm having fun. I'm okay with this. Oh, it's 15 minutes? Okay. So I guess that's it. What do you guys think? Would you guys even know about this thing? Maybe you guys do more than I do. So it's up to you guys. And thank you for watching. I guess I see you in the next one.